Alrighty then. That should be, hang on, I can do one more thing here. Let's do this. Oop. Blinky lights. Gotta love blinky lights. Hi, I am Chris from Airwindows, and this is one of my coding streams. This is going to be one where I'm chatting more than doing anything else, and I'm trying a bit of a new look because it's so hard for people to like read things and so on, and I haven't mastered the way chat is set up either. Actually, you know something? Not today. I was thinking whether I could kind of rearrange what I was doing, but I think this is not a good time. So let's not do that. I mean, I just get this stuff as sorted as I can get it. So I will stick to the coding, I think. Also, it amuses me to run the blinky lights on in the background because this is my green stream, my coding stream, and it looks as if there's a special effect, but it's actually room lighting. So as you can see, like if I hold my fingers up to the actually you can't really see that. If I held my fingers up to the blinky lights, then the blinky lights would light my finger up more in red. But that has nothing to do with what I'm doing today. What I'm doing today is something else. And I'm just gonna fool around a little with excuse me. So, you might ask, what am I doing with this black void? Well, the reason it's a black void, maybe I'll come up with like a cool background or something at some point, is we're no longer chroma keying because that made everything super unreadable. I don't have anything on chat at the moment to make that be better, but I'm not as worried about that right now. And we are going to do what I said we were going to do with regard to doing these plugins. Because we're back going through plugins and trying to do the new versions of them. And I'm just going to kind of go from A through Z and see whether I can recompile all these guys. Like, as you can see, like here's Air 2. It has a build folder, and I have built the new version of it. And if I open it, you can see that Air 2 is a bunch of float 64s, and it's not running the long double bus, and it's got the new version of the denormalization going. And right down at the bottom here, it's got the new version of the floating point dither, and the VSTs are set up. I can go and show you that as well. Here's the VST. And we've got a couple of other things. I've been improving stuff throughout. here is the VST 32-bit floating point dither, and in the 64-bit form, that is a double bus, so we don't actually need to do anything special with that. That's already what we want, so we're not doing the processing. I've just commented it out, and that is what we've got going forwards. Everything here has been updated in that way. So this is a process of kind of walking through all of this stuff and compiling it. And then on stream, I will be making things into, and then I might be doing that on the main computer, but once I'm finished doing this, I'm going to make stuff into little packages like my modern ones, where you got the signed plugins, and you got the retro mode, and the original component in VST, and the 32-bit Windows is in the retro folder. And all of that is going to be put together and assembled and uploaded to the website in the relevant spots on the plugins download page. Only once I've finished doing that will I put together the total collections of everything and update that. So for now, as we start walking through these things, the stuff that I'm going to do on these streams, and I might still, like maybe tomorrow, I'll do a fresh plugin so that we can keep on having. I've got a nice little backlog of stuff that needs posting, but I might as well keep that going. But as far as this updating stuff is concerned, it's going to work on the basis of if you follow along on the stream, you will see when I have updated the website with the new things, and can then immediately download them as soon as I've uploaded them. And hopefully that'll be interesting. Like anybody who's keeping track of this kind of stuff, or who is watching what I'm doing, will have an opportunity to get a kind of head start on these updates. And it works kind of like this. I can try to build API clips. And when I do get chat, which I suppose there will be some at some point, this is my usual time for streaming, so here I am. There's space for you to ask me questions about anything. Here's what API Clips looks like. There is the modern, everything's been updated properly. Hey, Jess. Now there are things here where I can find this equation and replace it with the random number from here. Thing is, I don't have that ready yet. Oh, chat not visible before? Okay, well, hopefully you can see it now. I'm doing my best with all of this. I'll probably be able to come up with ways of making it even better, at the cost of reinventing everything so that it's no longer the same as it is with the. I'll be thinking of new ways to do things. Trust me on that one. Hopefully, it'll work out fine, and I'll figure out a way of doing it. I do know that whatever I choose, like I can have things like the chat can show up in a Fortnite style. If the chat shows up in little placards, then that should show up across anything that is drawn on the screen. But yeah, what I'm going to be looking at stuff like this, and anywhere I find this formulation, let's take a moment and see how often I find this formulation. We're not using the same program, but there is a program that I can use, and we'll search in Airwindows and see how often I find that. because anytime I have this, I should be able to replace it with something that does not block Linux execution. So we've got 194 places where something like that. Dekreka, of course, has an awful lot of that stuff. If I just replace that with the FPD, that won't actually work properly. Also, it's going to be a little bit tricky figuring that one out between AU and VST, because AU can sometimes use FPD and VST is going to use FPDL and FPDR. I've been updating everything to deal with that. Ooh, and maybe Ditherbox, I wouldn't even want to do that, because if it needs to be a full-on RAND dither. Yep, so we have this formulation which generates a random number between 0 and 1. And any of this can be replaced with something else. The question is then what and how much of it. Also, notice that it's 194 files. That's not actually correct. I can go back here and go to a different search folder. See, if I look in just only the audio units, we've got 33 plugins that are using RAND. Oh, I'll be replacing it with the FPD thing that I'm using, and I'll tell you why, because I have that random number available. I'm already going to the trouble of generating it, so we might as well use it. It's just today is not my day for figuring out how to extract that one and scale it exactly right. It might be relatively straightforward though. Like maybe tomorrow we can get into that. How about that? Tomorrow we look into what it would take to replace this with the FPD version. And that's going to involve first calculating it out and maybe using a stereo and assigning one of them to one side and the other to the other side and seeing if I have exactly the same peak energies for each. Could be worth a try. Or alternately, if you want, I could try to do it now. It looks like I've only got you, Jess, although it depends. Like I can actually check. Let me glance at the Restream dashboard. Yeah, I don't know how all of this is working out. I'm just doing my usual streaming. But, oh, Iodesculos. Oh, Jazz, you'd like to see me do that, would you? Well, here's one of the problems. I don't have the audio set up. That I could do, though. How about, let's shut this down. I'm doing such an overall rehack of everything. And this is not about making things easier for me. All of this is enormously hard for me. Like, some of these days have been very stressful, but it's making the plugin code base better. And I know that Linux users have run into problems where some of the plugins are chugging on Linux because if you call rand on Linux, it blocks until it can get a cryptographically random number. So you can have dropouts and things there. And if I do fix this, I'm fixing execution on Linux machines and smoothing everybody's system out. And that seems on the desirable side. So it will also run a lot quicker, although there are circumstances where some of that stuff, it will not be as good. Like I would need to go and fix Dekreka. Probably not that hard to do, though. Let's go and set up the audio. Take my own mic off for the moment, and here's my fiber optic cable. And I gotta go and plug that into the converter. No biggie. There you are. A song that I did once. The interesting thing is that this is guitar tones, and today is the day. Today is the day that you get cabs. So I've got that to do as well, which is why I'm not going to be stretching out this coding extra long, but I may very well be able to find the time to do this. Why don't I start with, API Calypso was running into that. We'll do a new project. CocoaView gives me the stereo build. And there we go. I don't know if I can build it straight off, but I might be able to. Nope, we do seem to have built something. So all we're doing is going in here, see how it says U int32t? We want to scale this so that the output is up to exactly 1. And that is what happens so we don't need any of this stuff. We're not doing anything but generating some random numbers. So first thing we're going to do is go in here and get the rand double max and that should give me between 0 and 1. Although what I can do is make it 0 and -6 dB. And this being the scaling it down that I need. I think that'll still work. White space isn't that much of a thing there. And then input sample R is equal to divided by okay, no, not that. Went 32 max. You went 32 underscore max? At any rate, this is giving me what I need, kinda, but I need to work out how I look this up. So let me go and do that on the other machine. Okay, I think it has to be all caps, but then otherwise it's correct. Aha! There we go. And this isn't blue because this is simply a variable. Oh, and I also, seeing as I have a pair of these, I need to use fpdr, but this should build. I got warnings, I don't care. We'll save it. Scooch this out of the way so that I can take the file and put it somewhere. So this is what we're going to try to do. We're going to now apply that filter. Doesn't matter what we apply it onto. And test the controls mean nothing, and span will tell me how loud it got. And let's see what we have. Okay, that's going to be rand. The uint is not returning what I needed. It's 145. So there's something about this that I'm not understanding. It's a good thing I didn't just do the find and replace and put it in immediately. Let's quit out of there. The compiler warns you. So let's have a look at what we're doing again. Gain. So that was definitely not getting me what I needed. So FPDR was not going to the level that I needed it to go. I need to scale it until it's exactly the same as input sample L. Let's see what kind of area we need by using gain, which has been established as parameter 1. And I'm going to see what range I need to get into here to make this actually work. Because I thought it was going to be the uint max, whatever, but no, it was not that. Our builder succeeded. Here we are again. Now we're using one of the controls. That's why I have all those controls set up ahead of time. And back into the breach. Could really be any audio because we're completely ignoring what it does. Test noises and span. So where are we getting with this? Well, that's not making a noise. There's a problem. Like a meaningless thing here. That's now a very high level rather than a very low level. And it ain't nothing but a big thump. So, what's going on here? Sometimes it just gets difficult. That, or I get burnt out attempting challenging and difficult things and can't think anymore. That's an occupational hazard. So do we have FPDL and FPDR? Yes, we do. Did we initialize them? Yes, we did. So in theory, we should be updating this. The problem is that so when I did uint etc. max, there we go. So in theory, if I divide this by uint max, even though we're using it as a randomness, this should end up going to between 0 and 1. It did not when I tried it. And this is not reassigning it. Oh, did you see what happened there? Here's the thing. Do you see why I'm not getting sound out of going FPDR divided by uint32 max? There's a hint here. This is a fairly simple mistake. It is about me not paying attention to what kinds of variables I'm working with, and this is why this happened. Notice how we've got unsigned ints, right? And we're trying to make a value between 0 and 1. See the concern there? In theory, if I divide an integer value that's an unsigned int32 by uint32 max, I can never get anything but 0 out of it because we're not doing the multiplication on a longer bus. It's kind of like with the audio buses of doing a double bus or a long double bus or whatever. I'm doing integer multiplications on an integer bus, which can only tell me 0 or 1. Period. So the entire thing has to be cast to double to be able to do anything. And that's what we're doing here, which is something that happened earlier. This is producing the noise that I need. And it's double FPDR minus that. And so we'll do the same thing here. Same format. Now we will keep this times 0.5 and see whether that solves our problems completely. Interestingly, this has made it exactly the same length. So that's nice. That would be the problem. That would be what I was missing. Let's see if that's true, or if I still have much confusion. But that was clearly a problem, and I think it's what happened. And same deal of making up an effect stack, adding test noises. Gain should have no effect now because I'm not using it. Voila. those, yep. Now both sides are randomness. And they really sound pretty much the same too, I would say, except for one is going to eat much more CPU than the other, and one will block on Linux. So I now have a working find and replace for what I need to do with this. And then I'll have to keep an eye on where this turns up in the plugins, figure out whether they are FPD or FPD L and R. That is somewhat cumbersome. Also, let's double check this. Well, not saving the result. And sure enough, there is our randomness. And it is all positive, no negative numbers here. That is true for the rand, and that is true for the replacement. I'm not saving that. Quitting out of here. And there you have it. So then that becomes a, there's a couple of things about this. One of them is that I need to be applying it appropriately, but I can just leave it as something that's going to throw errors every time I get it wrong. Like for all of the VST and stereo plugins, I can leave it as throwing errors. Excuse me. Because then I'll be able to look up in the code where that exists. It'll be highlighted as an error where it exists, and it should be fairly obvious to see where I add an L or an R to it. Whereas if I did it with L and R first, it would be much more tricky. And that gives us a big old find and replace that we can put in place on absolutely everything. There's a, oh, spoke too soon. I need to do this. That way it'll be, when it needs to be a stereo, it'll throw it an error, and then I can just punch in 2 letters and hopefully be able to see where they are. FPD is a pseudo-random C. It's a very cheap pseudo-random that is fine for audio purposes because it makes a noise. Hey, Friskin. What was that noise? I don't know. Hello, that's different. I copied the wrong stuff. We don't want all of that. We just want this. Oh, you know, that might be. That might be. See, I don't know the details of why M1 works the way that it does, but I know that this code doesn't inherently parallelize stuff in floats, which is what like Surge Synthesizer does. And if it doesn't, and if they're using the same registers, then that would explain why, like, you don't lose anything by going to the longer word lengths. I don't have anything like that, Jess. Let us go now and set up the thing so that we will be walking through this and fixing it as needed. How many plugins will we replace? Answer, all of them. Linux boxes all over the world breathe a huge sigh of relief because in 194 files in different kinds of plugin, large numbers of rands, like, who crap, Ditherbox is loaded with the things. And that's because it's in all the different kinds of dither. Also, we have to make sure that Ditherbox has this stuff on the end. Likewise with double Paul, all these dithers. Decreca is going to need multiple versions of it because this is basically, it's doing the same thing, but we need more of these. And then we're going to need it in stereo for the stereo. So yeah, this starts to give me stuff that I need to go through, so we might as well dig into that now too. I think that'll keep my search results if I close this. Yep. Also, those ones don't have FPD as a variable. Yeah, a lot of this is going to need to be updated. Let's start by taking this, copying it, pasting it a couple of times, and breaking it down to what I'm going to need to use. So there's one kind, and here is another kind. And then we'll put that comment in both places. Make these windows smaller so that I have less of the screen obscured, because I don't really need to have this all super covered up. And the nice thing about working with something like Text Wrangler is that you can update stuff in the search window and hit save, and it'll save it. So we're going to expand this a little bit, and you might not be able to see this because it's covered up by my window, but I think the VST SDK is limited to floats in the process replacing loop anyway until they added doubles. Yes, I think that's what it is. So, API Clips does have the relevant stuff. Baseamp does have the relevant stuff. And needs its own update, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Baseamp has a very weird... Yeah, that's strange. Okay, that's probably going to run into immediate errors for me, but I'll fix that when I get to it. I'm focusing on a particular thing now. BaseKit. That's what we're supposed to be seeing with this stuff, which means maybe I can... Interesting. Doing all the work inside the search window. How handy. Gotta look BB Edit and Text Wrangler for stuff like this. Oh, I just screwed it up. Oh no, wait, no, I didn't. But I will just in a moment unless I fix it. So here's what I mean by that. Double replacing is fine. This is not. This needs to be edited and made to be this, but we've got our sample names reversed for no good reason. The rest of it is essentially the same. So let's get rid of this and replace it with this. What a weird thing to have done. I do not know why I did such a weird thing here. It's a very old plugin. Anyway, that should be what we need, and then we need to update the variables, and I'm not worried about that right now. So, base kit is going to be fine. Build the tPDF is going to need this here. That will throw an error later. Calibrate. All right, see you later, Freeskin. Oh boy. Yeah, if I'm reading that correctly, I hope so too. Good luck, man. Stay safe. Ooh, same problem. Base kit to calibrate. Oh, save that. Copy. And then base kit 32-bit dither. Gotta say, this is going very slowly. You asked for this. If I'm not finished in a suitable time, I will simply stop and try to make some kind of note about where I got. This is ground my progress to a complete halt. But then these are really old. Hello. You were not actually different. Are you? Yeah. That's literally and exactly the same. Alrighty then. How about chrome oxide? What do we got here? Chrome oxide needs the 64-bit updated. But the 32-bit is ready. So we will go to Calibrate. I do not know why it's doing that either. Let's put some stuff in here. Because if there's a bunch of this, then I need to update the bunch of this. We definitely don't want this. See, it says FPD. It doesn't have the left. Well, no, wait. No. This has input sample L and input sample R. So if we can find this, we do want to update it. City skyline. It's been such a long time since I've been able to do anything like that. So we will go and research for this when we can. But for now, we're closing that and getting back into another find and replace, namely we always want to replace these with these. So in all plugins, because you see it says input sample L and input sample R, so I know that the FPD is always going to need to be updated. So this will be across the board, literally everywhere. And I've been finding several of them. Oh God, that's what I did? Oh, that's terrible. Cities, skylines, ultra hardcore, 3 times speed and never pause. What was I thinking? All right, so API clips is the first one where that's going to happen. So I might as well just go back and start recompiling all these from scratch. I've made too many changes. But let's go through and see whether we can do some things here. Not replacing nothing at the moment. Just looking for this. $194 files. So yeah, here's API clips. That needs an update, but I'm not worried about that right now. And it does have that. Base amp. Let's scooch that up here a little bit. That seems good. Check the middle. That seems good. Base kit. That seems good. And in the middle, do I still have? That seems good. All right. Build the tPDF. This is not going to have what I need. Except for I've added it. So now it does. Calibrate. I think that's the first one I started running into this other problem. That's what needs to be. Chrome oxide. Yep, good. And good. Cider. See, we haven't gotten up to here yet. Okay. And okay. I'm kind of scanning them over to see whether they're different from what they need to be, but there's only so much I can do about that. Compress saturator. Hi, you need to be updated. Doubly so. In fact, I'm not. Oh, I bet I know why. I guess we'll just see how many times that happens. So it was trying to find this, but apparently it's not helpful. And the 32-bit. And that's got compress saturator covered. How about crystal? Good. And good. Decoraca is going to be an extra problem. But that at least is correct. Or, yeah, it is. And so is that. So I can worry about that later. It's going to need a lot more of these. Dither box definitely is going to need some help. It's a stereo version. One thing we can do with some of these is just keep incrementing the pseudo-random generator. That is something we could do with Decoraca as well, actually. That's easier than what I thought it was going to be. Down to the bottom. Pseudo-random updater and the other version. Oh, your indentation is all screwed up, aren't you? Look at you. No matter. Yeah, sometimes when I was doing gamey type stuff, I thought that it would be more engaging or better of a stream if I just pushed it as hard as I possibly could, which is, I don't know. Here is double Paul. Dub center. Okay, that one's good. Dub sub. Good. Yep. The stuff that's not dithers is probably okay, although I might need to continue updating these randoms. I can't read what you said, unfortunately. It's hiding underneath my screen. I'm sorry. Say it in shorter sentences, maybe? I think you're probably saying class. That would not be helpful to me. I don't work that way. Let's see, elation looks good. From tape. Iron oxide. Good and good. Luxor. I'm warning you at around 2:30 or so I'm going to quit for the day. And so if my derail into this stops me from updating these things, they will just happen slower, although you will still get cabs. I've got cabs ready. That looks right, so does that. Naturalize, that's it, dither. That's not going to be quite the same. So, same deal. Neverland is probably fine. That looks about right. Yep. No dither are we going to need to do this. None of the dithers have dither to floating point on them because it's contradictory to what they are. So in each of these cases, we need to have the, oh, hello, are you, signs point to this being right, yep. Alrighty. One thing about it, I'm warm today because the wood stove is cranking away real hard. Paul dither. That is going to need this. Likewise. That was snow falling off my roof. Excuse me. I am definitely kind of in need of rest, but I might be able to get through this. There's only, oh yes I do, like 200 of these to go through. Give myself a little more room to work. Precious should be good. Spatialize, that's it, dither. That is going to need me adding this. There's no very good way to do a find and replace on the concept of, is this actually a dither plugin that requires you adding this extra stuff? Tape dither. Like in theory, the name of the file, but that gets extra complicated working out what you're doing. The more complicated it gets, the more stuff can backfire terribly. To tape. All right. Good. There's another dither. Again, a lot of this is for the Linux crowd because the stuff they're running, their RAND call is potentially blocking audio threads, and you do not want that. So we will tend to avoid that by doing this. It'll just require a little fussing of making it work properly. That's all. Let's see, save you. Oh goodness, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it a very consistent format on top of doing this so that if finds and replaces do need to be done later, it'll be in an orderly way. Vinyl dither, which also means I'm probably getting close to this incarnation of these updates. We've got rather a lot of those for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm doing just a moment. Wow. Okay, so vinyl dither is messy. This is like a Gaussian thing. Or some odd thing going on in here. Whatever I was doing, I'm calling so many bloody randoms. I'm amazed this ran at all. Anyways, we'll be working on that, that's for sure, when we see it. Voice of the starship. You have floating point dither, so you don't need any help. This, on the other hand, that'll just run. That's already done. That'll just run. That's already done. Base kit is going to require some updates, but it has the relevant stuff here where we're updating these values, because that's what I'm checking on right now, is whether we are updating these values or not, and that is not going to be a thing. So see how I hit TPDF? That means we need to, let's build in the space that we wanted. There we are. That needed to update. We were not updating. That's already good. That's already good. Same with this. Some of this I'm going to be going through twice because I have multiple instances. Although, hang on, before I go any farther with this, I'm in Mac AU, and I think I was in, oofda. So yeah, that's not useful. I'm going to generate that off of the Mac versions, and so what I really kind of need to do here is blank some of these out for the moment. I'm like manually editing all this stuff, and the work that I just did for the last 20 minutes or so was useless, because I was manually editing things that I'm not actually working from. On the other hand, since I'm already going to delete it anyway, let's just go ahead to Mac AU, and then I'm going to watch a little more closely next time. See what I get. Compress saturator, you're good. Crystal, good. Deck Reca, good. Ditherbox, have I already updated this? No, have not. I must have had an earlier dither. How do I have ditherbox listed twice? Here's ditherbox. Oh, what? Mac AU distance to ditherbox? That makes no sense at all. What's going on there? Well, for whatever reason, I'll figure that one out later. Makes no bloody sense. That needs an update. Dub center is fine, and it is also stereo. Dub sub is going to be fine. These are end-to-end plugins. They can run mono if you need them to. From tape, fine. Just a moment, I'm going to go and get a towel with blow my nose. Okay, so let's see, where did we leave off? We just looked at from tape. From tape should be good. Iron oxide, good. Luxor. I'm looking for whether it has this FPD updating stuff in there. Naturalize, that's not going to be ready. But now it is. Neverland, good. No dither will not be ready. Nice, good. Paul dither will not be ready. That formulation seems so consistently to be like this that I should just cover it. Paul wide. Same deal, except for it is stereo. Let's just save ourselves a little extra trouble and do the stereo from the start. Back over to this formulation. Precious will be fine. Spatialize. Oh, hang on. There we are. Tape dither. See, I'm trying to put 2 spaces between those, so I copied it with the spaces intact. To tape, good. TPDF. TPDF wide. Final dither. And we're in the AU. Voice out that starship. Good. Now where are we at? Oh, Same again. Alrighty then. This time it's the signed, and we're trying to do the find and replace to cover all of this. So we have to walk through both the regular and the signed AU and the regular and the signed Mac VST. The Windows and Linux are generated off of the Mac VST code base, so updating those means basically nothing. And they will be replaced later when I generate the new ones. So, yeah, that's cumbersome. But that's fine. That's fine. So is that. That's not going to be. Boop. That's fine. Fine. I bet that's not. And I think it's a mono. It's a mono. There we are. And that was living in. Why does distance 2 have an incarnation of Ditherbox living in it? That makes no damn sense at all. I wonder if I actually have the distance 2 plugin. I guess we'll find out. Meanwhile, boop. Dub center is good. Dub sub also good. Relation also good. From tape. Iron oxide. You know, in some of these cases, it's probably not worth digging through these and checking. I've been saying that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good over and over again. So let's just go for the ones where I'm pretty sure, like it says dither, and so I know I'm going to have to be tacking this information in here, like this. Neverland, no, but no dither. I bet I need to. There we go. And I don't think noise, yeah, noise is already set. Paul dither. Paul wide, I know I'm going to be needing this. Specialize. And to tape should be fine. Sure enough, don't need to check those. TPDF. And TPDF wide. We'll be needing this other form. Vinyl dither, I'm going to have to put a lot of work into this. But that's fine. We can do that on streams. And then voice should be fine. Yep. So, we're on Mac signed VST, so these we can do. And these are entirely going to be stereo. All the VSTs are stereo. Hey, Fotis. Yeah, this is, feel free to hang out with me, ask questions or whatever, because I figured I might as well stream this stuff, and this is going to be a brutal set of updates. There's so much going on here. It's unreal how much is going on here. Oh, hello. Oh, API Calypse. So that's the signed VST, and that's already fine. And the 60, I can at least check that the 64-bit ones are what they need to be. For instance, this one is not. And I remember why, too, because that's just weird. You know what? Easiest way to do this is just to straight up comment out the stuff that needed to be commented out, because that's all we did with the 64-bit is we're leaving it there, and we're just commenting out the stuff that we're not using because we're coming from a double bus. No need to do anything more there. Base kit, looking fine. Do I still have this ready? Excuse me. I have a bottle of water over there. That's something that I could well use. Give me a moment and I'll do just that. There's our build.tbf. And I've got it over here. We are definitely still running into the problems reading things on the screen, and my apologies for that. I can see just fine. So calibrate, 32-bit is good, 64-bit is good. I'm going to go back to assuming those are good unless the occasional spot check. Oh, this is why I should do the occasional spot check. That is not. But it might be easier to do it this way. Oh. Be careful, don't do the wrong thing. This is all the changes, so a copy and paste is maybe not even as fast as doing this. That one's good. Likewise there. Ah, dithers. There we go. And since this is a signed VST, fortunately it's the Mac one, so we're actually going to use it when we get into it. And needs a lot of updating. Some of these are going to be slow going, I tell you. Double Paul. You know, we can do this. There. And there. Dump center looking good. We're gonna trust that these are correct. For instance, elation, there we go, it's fine. Naturalized dither, that's gonna be something. Neverland should be good. Node dither is going to need a little bit of help. I think noise was already, yep. Pull dither. Pull wide. Precious should be fine. Spatialize is going to need a little help. Tape dither. TPTF. TPTF wide. Vinyl. And then boy, there's a lot of snow sliding up on my roof. Voice of the starship. Looking good and looking good. So, regular Mac VST. See, I'm trying to figure out, I think I've got still the signed AUs lower in this list, but we're going to check on some of these things and try to remember which ones of them had difficulties or issues. That's fine. Base amp is the one with the weird dumb behavior. 64-bit, we can just comment out. Because we can see right away that's not correct. Oh, and hello, you're not doing... So was that right? Was that the case for the previous base amp? Ugh, messy. Well, let's just do it by hand then. Oh. This gets more and more cumbersome the farther I go. R, and R. Now the interesting question here is the 32-bit dither in there correctly formulated or is it wrong? It is not correctly formulated. It's meant to look like this. And you know, for a very obvious reason, that it's still using that dumb formulation of input sample. Okay, you know, it's going to be about as quick to just do this manually, so we'll do this manually just like we did before. Oh. 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 R. No. No. R. 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 And R. So that's a start. Let's hope we don't have anything else like that. That was most unpleasant. Good. Ah, here we have clearly a dither. Let's see if, there we are. There we are. Build the TPDF, regular Mac VST. Calibrate, what did we have going on here? That's good. Was the other part good? Yes. So some of these were screwed up like this. And now I can't really do a search and replace to find whatever was wrong here because I'm too deeply into all of this. So we're going to manually do it to not have to think about it as much. L, 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 L. Because I'm just too deep into too many other things. And this might very well be not the right numbers either, but there's ain't nothing I can do about it at this stage. We will do the best we can with what we've got, and that's all we can do. And today that is this, and so if there are irregularities here, then we're just going to kind of suffer with them. This at least is going to be relatively straightforward. When you have hundreds upon hundreds of plugins, and they have incongruities like this, that's where you get into nasty trouble. No. Yes. There, goodbye compress saturator, you're a pile of junk. That one's fine. We're basically just looking for dithers now. I think those are the ones with problems. There's one. And I'm getting right up to my time of running out of steam and needing to stop. But while I have not yet done that, I do need to finish this particular task to the best of my ability. And that probably means I've done the signed VST and the regular VST, I think. This would be the regular VST. Sub, center. So those are probably fine, but the dithers, when they say specifically dither, those are the ones I gotta go in and punch in some information, namely this. I don't think these are necessarily defined variables, so I'm not done with my work here, But this is as far as I'm going to be able to do today. Naturalized, Neverland. No dither. Noise, I think, has... Yep, it does. Spatialize. Tape dither. Oh, hang on. Going past it. PDF dither. PDF wide. Where are you? There you are. And vinyl dither. All of which are going to need a lot of work. And now, oh, and voice of the starship is probably fine. Yep. What do we got here? Okay, we're not doing the Windows. Those are generated from other ones. We're going to avoid those. We did the Linux ones by mistake, but we're not doing these Windows ones. Again, these are getting generated from the Mac versions when I do them. So we're not touching these. They're going to end up getting deleted. And that was all she wrote. So let's start checking on where we had. There's Linux. Mac AU. Got it. Mac signed AU. Looks like I've got these as well. Let's be sure. Yep. Signed VST. Now, Basamp is one of those stupid ones with the problem. And we have not updated this properly, so let's go in and do this while we're at it. Where's our other one? And we got to do this here too. I don't know. This is going to be a big pile of hell. Let's do that. Thing is, when you start trying to compile these, it'll throw errors, and the errors will tell you which bits you missed. So that's kind of the idea there. Alrighty. Basamp Mac signed VST, build TPDF Mac signed VST. Looks like I've got that. Let's double check that the 32-bit is also there. Yes, it is. So it looks like I've got Mac signed VSTs sorted. Regular Mac VSTs. How are we looking now? Let's see what kind of mess we have here. Same deal, same problem. I bet it's the same problem. Nope, that time I have it updated. Go figure. I noticed what I was doing by then, which would mean that the other one, yep, is done. Build the TPDF regular Mac VSTs. Now, hang on a second. So Linux were the first ones I had. Then we got the regular Mac AUs. Then we got Mac signed AUs, so that's what I'm going through now. Pull wide, got it. And Mac signed VSTs. Got it. Okay, you know what? I am going to call that good enough for now. We've just walked through this entire process. This is what we had made. This is what proves that we have the random thing done. So some of that has been finished. And we're going to get back to this on another day. For now, I am going to bid you good day, because that's all I got in the tank for today. I thought I was going to start actually compiling these, but instead there was more refactoring. And I'm happy enough to be including this stuff. It's a lot, but it will help things in the long run. Like going forward, there'll be a wider range of plugins where you will run them under Linux, and then they will not be causing a problem on Linux or whatever. And that seems worthwhile. So we will just dig in. This is about just digging in and getting it done. And I should have cabs for you today. I'm going to have a little lay down. But then once I'm finished doing that, I will have cabs for you today. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.